is 99.999%.
Nice.
That's not very much getting through.
Yeah, and you too can have your very own for 40,000 plus all the adjunct materials that you have to go along after you get the crossflow, huh? Is that what you use? Are you guys using a crossflow?
We're using plate and frame.
Okay,
So yeah, we're not to the batch sizes yet where we're looking at a crossflow, but if we went any bigger, I can tell you we would, because being with the plate and frame is a chore.
Yeah. Can you wash your mediums out, or do you have to toss it and start over?
Yeah, they're all just the paper pads. Use them once and they're gone.
Oh, I didn't realize you could go paper that fine.
Yeah, the paper go down to 0.5 micron, and then the sterile is a cartridge.
Oh, I see.
Reusable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys find first to get it so that you can run it through the 0.5 without jamming it up? Or, I mean, certainly you don't wait around and let Father Time take its course to get clear, do you?
Oh, gosh. I have yet to meet a commercial mead maker who doesn't use finings, at least sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I know, maybe Ken Schramm has the patience to wait, but even then, he doesn't have a lot of space.
Hunter's Moon, they wait quite a long while for their stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're trying to turn most of our batches around in 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
For our low gravity stuff, and we aim for about 8 weeks for our higher gravity stuff, and it would be impossible without findings.
Right,
yeah,
right.
And it's clear as a bell. I mean, this one that I've got here is just like brilliant, completely.
So I'm curious, you're talking between your low gravity and your high gravity, you're only talking 2 or 3 points, right? How come you need an extra month for 2 or 3 points difference between the high and low gravity for your out the door time?
Yeah, the reason for us is 2 reasons. One is we don't do any pH adjustments, so during fermentation, our Austin water is fairly low alkalinity, so the pH tends to drop down into the upper 2 range, and at that range, the yeast will ferment at a nice clip up until you get to about 10% alcohol, and then they get really slow after that. So our fermentation is at the temperatures that we're running at too, because we tend to keep our fermentation in the mid to upper 50s. So the fermentation takes quite a long time to get up to 13-14% alcohol.
Oh, I see. I thought when you said low to high, I thought you meant your low point session meads versus your higher ABV session meads, but you're talking session versus standard strength.
Exactly, yeah. Our standard strengths are usually around 12 to 13%, and so our primary fermentation on our sessions is about, right now, our typical turnaround is about 14 days, and it's about 4 weeks to get to 13%.
Yeah. And you actually have dips down in, you said in the high 2s? Mm-hmm. And you don't have to bring that up ever. See, I've been trying to argue with people for a long time. People want to use bicarbonate, and they want to adjust up front. And I say, you know what? I've never seen anything I've made stall when it gets down to 3.0. And you're saying that it still works even lower than that. Glad to hear that, actually.
Yep, at least with the yeast that we're using. So your mileage may vary, but we use Epernay, which is the Cote de Blanc. Yeah. We use 71B. We use D47. We use DB10. We've used D21, D80, D254. All of those we've never had. The only batch that we've ever had to stall out was because we had too much sugar.
Oh,
And that's the only time we've ever had a stuck fermentation.
And now, are you using the same wine yeast to make your session meads as well, or are you switching over and using ale yeast for your sessions more so than a wine yeast?
though I know a lot of folks are using ale yeast, we use wine yeast for everything. Mm-hmm. And we've done a little bit of experimentation there, but honestly, that's one area that we really want to experiment with, because I think especially in the lower gravity area space, I think the yeast are going to have such a huge effect on the flavor of the product that's something that we really want to spend more time experimenting with, because we think that that's going to be a huge variation. We did do an experiment where we ran our Rhapsody and with 5 different yeasts and picked the one that we liked the best out of that, but that's the only experiment we've done so far.
And are you running at the lager temps solely for, getting clean fermentations, or is your intention to cause them to get through the growth phase slower so that it has more time for some of the different ester makers to produce esters, so you have more ester profiles in the finished meads?
Yeah, I think it's really a combination of both. I've found that we get that having a slow and steady fermentation keeps your fusel alcohol production low, while at the same time enhancing some of the aromas and flavors that you get, because if the fermentation gets away from you, you just blow all that stuff off. And as Paracelsus used to say, then it's you want to do everything you can to keep the aroma in the product. He was talking about his wit beer at the time, but the same principle I think applies to anything else. The faster the fermentation, the more vigorous the fermentation, the more you're just blowing off through the airlock. That may be a good thing if you have some grapes if you get some grapes where you have some high VA, that might be a desirable thing. But when we're trying to ferment mead and we're trying to preserve all that lovely, delicate honey aroma, I think that the low and slow fermentation is the key, and I really believe that's the reason why our discovery was able to take the gold this last year at the Mazer in the traditional category. We didn't enter it in session; we entered it in the regular mead traditionals, and we took the gold. And to be able to do that with a 6.5% mead, you've got to have a ton of honey aroma and flavor
and mouthfeel
to come out in order to compete and with the big boys in there. And I think if we were doing the typical home mead maker, this is my first batch. I'm going to check NEC 1118 at 78 degrees. There wouldn't be any aroma left. And probably not much flavor either.
So in lieu of that, trying to run low and slow, I'm assuming then that you're staggering your additions as well for your cans. Even on your session meads? Yeah, absolutely. The one word of caution that I like to give is know your yeast, because they're all different, and then the biggest. So we at one point we switched from one yeast strain to a different yeast strain, and we did not think about the fact that the nutrient addition timing would need to change. So we didn't change our nutrient amounts, but we had to adjust the timing of the additions. We showed up to the meadery one day, and it was the day that we were going to open the tasting room. And we opened the door to come in, and it just smelled awful in there. And we had to air the whole place out. The yeast was very much not happy. And so we learned from that lesson that, hey, this new strain likes its nutrients a little bit sooner than the yeast that we were using before. And so we've adjusted. We moved our second edition up by a day earlier, and everything's been fine ever since. So I'm curious
you have to know what your yeast like.
Yeah, I'm curious in that scenario. Did you find that the yeast just wanted fed sooner, or were they also chewing through some gravity points faster than your one that you had been using prior to that switch?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of two factors. One was the leg time is shorter with the new yeast strain, but also that it was just it was getting through the growth phase faster than the other yeast strain. It's just one of those things where you don't know unless you've really done some batches with it and gotten to know it really well. In this case, this was kind of our first time using it on a large scale. We'd used that yeast a couple of times for some 3-gallon batches, but it's a different ballgame when you're doing 1,000 gallons.
Yeah, you can't just scale it up, or so I've heard. What are you guys doing for nutrient additions? Are you? I mean, you're going through this pretty quick. So, are you doing like a TOSNA or staggered nutrient? I mean, what kind of nutrient protocol are you following with your sessions?
Yeah, so we do push leg, and then we do a 1/3 addition, and that's it. And we do use some ferment. We use some fermento, but we use some DAP too. I'm not. I know a lot of people are liking to go organic only. I think I like the idea of that for meads like pie mints and fruit meads, where you have a lot of organic and readily available nitrogen already in there. In the case where you're just fermenting honey, the DAP is fine because you're going to get plenty of complex. As long as you have some fermento, some GoFerm, some ferment K, something like that in there, you're going to get enough of the trace elements. But you certainly wouldn't want to use all DAP. But I'm just really not afraid to use some of it, and we do with great results in all of our meads.
I'm curious, do you guys do O2 additions as well?
We do everything by pump over.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't do any O2 addition. We've talked about it, but it's something that we haven't done actually.
Right. So I'm curious.
Found it necessary.
Yeah.
I've had meads ferment to 17-18%. So whatever we're doing obviously works.
Sure. I've just been curious of some of the guys that are doing O2 additions, if they've played with both the amount and the timing of the O2 additions to see how that's transferred over to a smaller or a larger biomass, and how that then equates to the finished, flavor profile.
Right. Yeah, that was our main concern. And when we talked about doing that, we think it probably would speed up the process, but at the same time, the downside of that is the faster fermentation kinetics are something that we're taking other steps to try to avoid, like fermenting cooler, and so I'm a little bit worried that the fermentation might get carried away. So yeah, it was something that we could do some side-by-side experiments, but I would probably experiment on a small scale before we would try it.
And what's a small scale experiment for you nowadays?
5 gallons.
I see.
Yeah. So oftentimes, when you're mixing up a big batch, it's pretty simple to just pull a 5-gallon carb away and fill it up and do something different with it. So we find ourselves doing that quite a bit. It's actually fun for the creative side because you can come in just a whim and say, I think I'm going to go do something else today, and just go over to a tank and go pull 5 gallons off.
I've actually made some of my best meads that way, just on a whim, and didn't even bother to keep notes. And then I go, "Damn it, this is so good! I don't even know what the hell I did." Yep.
I hate when that happens because it's usually the ones where you just whizzed through it and you're like, and it's totally awesome. And you're like, shit.
Yep, that's exactly right. You just got some extra stuff laying around the house, and you go, "Okay, I'm going to toss this in and that," and then. Because you're concentrating on what you're making, right, instead of this little sidebar piece. And then I've had probably 3 of my better meads are mystery meads that I'll never make again in my entire life. So what kind of struggles did you guys face when you first started to try to develop your session line? Or, are there things that you might be able to help us home guys and the professionals both, our listeners? Are there things that you could maybe steer us away from, or tell us surprising things that you found along the route that you didn't expect to see?
Wow, that's a tough one. I guess I'll start with the easy one. the easy one is